Hello my friends, welcome back to SFO Grimhammer, and today we will take the plunge once more into a realm of magic and malevolence as Volkmar the Grim and the Cult of Sigmar march their crusade into the Eyrie to take on the Twisted Twin. Vilitch the Curseling has been whispering sweet nothings into his brother's ear, with the Golden Griffin prowling the air above, while the Knights Panther and Sigmarite disciples look to banish some demons. Before Warhammer 3, it was considered an impossibility to enter the domain of the Chaos Gods and live to tell about it. Now it seems like there's a new faction taking a stroll through it every other day. Tzeentch will look to ensure this trespass does not go unpunished. Their armies have the high ground for now, and the Master of Misrule is leading a mixed mortal and demonic force, while he himself will mix melee and spellcasting to get some juicy buffs from Twisted Twin. Infernal Gateway and Blue Fire will be his two spells of choice, and he has two ways to replenish barrier for allies, both through his casting and through proximity. Behind him are a horde of Chaos Spawn and Chaos Warriors for a bit of punch in the melee grind, with the Lord of Change, the Golden Griffin, on Overwatch. Bound spells Searing Doom and Gehenna's Golden Hounds, the special heal called Unholy Pact with the Changer that grants spell resist, ITP, and a 10% heal in an AoE. All on top of being a tanky, powerful melee combatant that passively regens winds of magic. Pretty scary creature there. Pink and blue horrors in the fronts, and a whole ambush wing complete with Screamers of Tzeentch and the dreaded Chaos Knights of Tzeentch, which are less numerous but even more elite in SFO and are AP majority. Together, they look to overwhelm the Empire's mobility and make life really difficult for the Knights Panther, and perhaps break open a flank for demons to pour through. Now on the other side, the Imperials are marching with a Sigmarite army, and the Sigmarite disciples will be in the vanguard. Basically, warrior priests in training, more disciplined, more well-trained, more well-equipped version of flagellants, with perhaps a little bit less crazy. They support their allies with battle chants and leadership auras, not designed as the core of your army, but certainly a unit that can let others shine against those terrors from the void. Behind them are the famous Knights Panther, elite bonus versus large cap with the unique Banish contact effect, strips physical and spell resist away from enemies, so very logical hammer to bring to the Realm of Tzeentch. If you're going up against demons, you want tools that can banish them, and Knights Panther are certainly good at that. They also confer magic resist to themselves and allies to survive that fiery deluge sure to come their way. In the front, on his War Altar of Sigmar, is the Grand Theogenist Volkmar the Grim, alongside a Bright Wizard with Burning Head and Flaming Sword of Ruin, which does not grant magic attacks in SFO, but rather gives a larger boost to weapon and missile damage. Spears, great swords, and some pistol cav, actually Vanguard, in the center of the battlefield, looking to maybe get a little bit of an ambush off, but against Tzeentch, ambushes aren't usually that effective because their overshield will take the brunt of it, and they're pretty mobile, so they can reinforce pretty well too. As the battle kicks off, Chaos Knights getting very aggressive, looking to score first blood, spotted some vulnerability on the Imperial right and seek to exploit that maybe with some cycle charging. Now the Knights Panther are a great unit, but they are not in the same tier as Chaos Knights of Tzeentch, especially those supported by Screamers. It would be a nightmare engagement for most cav in the setting, so they will wisely hold in reserve and watch all this transpire for now, just wait for a better moment. Spearmen will get beat up a little bit here, but that's what state troops are there for. They can take some licks without being a disastrous loss. If the Knights Panther overcommitted there, it could get really bad for the Empire pretty quick. Blue Horrors and Pink Horrors tossing some cotton candy treats at the Crusaders. The melee fight is about to pop off. Volkmar the Grim leading the charge for the Empire. He's essentially unkillable for now, no point even trying, while Vilitch does the same thing in the center, and the Golden Griffin looks for a good opportunity to strike. The longer the Twisted Twin wades into close quarters, the stronger he becomes, so look for him to spend a lot of time in the thick of the fighting, and a Burning Head in the back line, trying to hit some of those Blue Horrors, Pink Horrors, and Chaos Warriors, but they will get out of the way and pretty much only lose their overshield. Normally, I would not recommend bringing damage spells like Burning Head against Tzeentch. Their overshield will block the majority, if not all of the damage. Bombardments and stationary vortexes can cut through that overshield and continue hitting the models once that shield is gone. Typically, it's going to be a better spell choice in that situation. And speaking of spell choices, Infernal Gateway from Vilitch the Curseling, the Eye of Terror, peering through this rent in reality and sending a good chunk of the Tatter Souls into the afterlife, minus some appendages. That was a brutal stationary vortex, and in the center, Vilitch continues to stand alone, doing his best bad Gandalf impression. You shall not pass. Except he's not fighting Balrogs, he's fighting dudes with goofy looking hats and big ass swords. He's doing alright for now, but the AP and bonus versus infantry from those great swords may force him off once his overshield has dissipated. Lot of buffs in the center from Volkmar the Grim, and a counter spell from Searing Doom and Unholy Pact the Changer, trying to keep those Chaos Warriors and Chaos Spawn in the fight. Getting rid of Vilitch's barrier is no easy feat, apparently not even for great swords who are kind of fighting exactly what they want to in that situation. Maybe they'd rather fight Chaos Warriors, but Vilitch is not a bad target, but his overshield has not disappeared yet. And Volkmar, well, he is going to be a problem for Tzeentch without question. Really, only the Golden Griffin, who is now dealing with some of the handgunners in the rear, supported by some Chaos Knights, would realistically be able to take down Volkmar relatively quickly. At the moment, he is full HP, and of course, will be regenerating this entire time. We're seeing the barrier buffs from Vilitch the Curseling, Chaos Spawn retreating from the right flank to perhaps get their barrier back. It looks like a lot of the infantry from Tzeentch is retreating because of Gehenna's Golden Hounds from the Golden Griffin. Lords of Change are great for preying on an opponent's back line, but they are not amazing for wave clear except for their spells themselves. So maybe tied up with a handgun for a while yet. Screamers over pursued, going after these silver bullets, which successfully zoned them out, but Knights Panther are clearing the back line, and Warrior Priests of Sigmar, or rather the Sigmarite Disciples, are anchoring that Empire right flank, while the Chaos Knights pour down the mountainside and look to overwhelm those great swords with a big Pelum volley coming in from behind. Those blue horrors landing some point-blank shots and may look to charge into melee afterwards. Volkmar and Vilitch the Curseling are fighting, and that is a fight that Volkmar would probably win, considering he is a chariot and could cycle charge the Master of Misrule to death. So Vilitch is fleeing for his life. Golden Griffin still in the back line. Nothing really putting any pressure on it for the moment, and handguns are still pretty much at the same amount of HP. They're at about 2/3, so yeah. Lord of Change not particularly efficient at clearing them away in melee, but the combination of Chaos Warrior and Chaos Spawn with their armor sundering should be able to deal with these great swords in the center, unless they get hammer and anvil by Volkmar the Grim, who's charging in on his war altar with a pack of hounds and Chaos Spawn baying at his heels. Those white explosions you see on screen are Dampen, -10 armor, and -25% spell resist. I've been trying to find exactly what causes it, but it is a Tzeentch debuff for the Empire. So perhaps it's tied to Vilitch, perhaps it's tied to the Golden Griffin, but yeah, -10 armor and -25% spell resist could be pretty impactful if you pair that up with Overcast Blue Fire against single entities. Chaos Knights of Tzeentch have had their way so far and are about to get a flank charge into the Knights Panther. I don't know what just canceled their charge. Maybe a misclick, I'm not sure, but they could have devastated those Knights Panther with a good charge there. Flaming Sword of Ruin, 40% base weapon damage. So yeah, no magic attacks, but it does make their weapon damage even higher, and of course gives them flaming attacks as well. Not that useful for Tzeentch. Both are born in the flame. Knights Panther looking to retreat, and Empire looking relatively healthy on that side as Unholy Pact from the Changer happens for the second time, and that Golden Griffin in the middle going after the mage, trying to take the spellcasting off the field for the Empire. More dampened contact effects hitting the Tattersouls, who are on their last legs and about to crumble in the face of all this melee power. And Vilitch has flipped the field. He's leading a charge alongside his Chaos Knights in to help out the Golden Griffin of Theurgy, and they're looking to overwhelm the Imperial left flank now, and there is not a lot in the way to prevent those handguns from being overrun by the Armored Knights of Tzeentch. Only a few Pistoliers in between. They may even charge into melee. They're out of ammo now. Give a little bit more time for the handgunners to fire in. The Golden Griffin does not seem to care about the handgun volleys at all. He's only just now lost his overshield. A banishment from Volkmar the Grim cutting through the center of these pink horrors who are looking to retreat and have not fired much of their ammunition up to this point. Oh, you know what? They've been on skirmish mode this entire time. So a micro mistake from the armies of Tzeentch here. They've been on skirmish mode, so they've been running instead of firing. Perfect opportunity for the Knights Panther's Banish Contact effect to start doing some work against those pink horrors, but Chaos Knights came in to reinforce, while the Golden Griffin goes over the top into the back line and continues to harry and harass those poor handgunners who have just not had a fun time this battle. They have not died yet. You would have expected they would have at this point, but the fact that they've been tied down in melee, the Lord of Change, for this long, certainly not an ideal situation for them. Another big infernal gateway, this time catching out the Knights Panther and the Silver Bullets, and those handguns will be outright deleted from the game. Knights Panther took a lot of damage from that as well. They may look to flee, and a few pathetic volleys from the Pink Horrors trying to do something to Volkmar, but he's full HP and does not give a crap like the Honey Badger. Flaming Sword of Ruin to give 40% extra missile damage as these Imperial Missile Cavalry fire in on the Chaos Knights and the Golden Griffin. Looks like the Golden Griffin's pulled away because his barrier has completely dissipated. We'll wait for that to replenish under Vilitch the Curseling and his buffs. Big time charge from the Chaos Knights to finish off those great swords, and Vilitch is still full HP. So both Legendary Lords are healthy after all kinds of fighting. I cannot say that either army reflects their hail and heartiness. Both armies are pretty depleted up to this point. We're 9 minutes in. Balance Bar is pretty much dead even as the Chaos Knights look to assert their dominance in the late game, and this is where that barrier and that mobility, the fact that they've dealt with the Knights Panther and should now have free reign to cycle charge things, could start shifting things in Tzeentch's favor if the Empire doesn't do something with Volkmar and those remaining missile cavalry. More charges coming in from the Chaos Knights on the flanks. Everything on this side of the battlefield is isolated now. We'll have no support from Volkmar or the Pistoliers. Handguns still looking to run away from that encroaching Tzeentch infantry, and all the way at the top of your screen, there is a missile cavalry unit hidden in the trees waiting for the opportune moment to strike, and the reality is they have been forgotten about, and we'll see if they are even pulled out before the end of this battle. That is a unit of Imperial grenade launchers on horseback. Would certainly be useful for clearing out some of these demons and the Chaos Warriors. Big Eldritch Storm, sacrificial holding force from those Chaos Warriors, who look like they may have tried to escape but aren't going to be able to, and the Pistoliers are dead. Volkmar doesn't really care. The infantry certainly does, and the foot troops on both sides shattered after that one. Meanwhile, Vilitch the Curseling is in this creepy Tzeentch forest with eyes peering and tentacles rearing their ugly heads, and Vilitch should be able to finish off these Sigmarite disciples no problem at all. Unholy Pact of the Changer in the background, hitting those Chaos Knights of Tzeentch, giving them ITP, giving them a 10% heal, and spell resistance in case Volkmar has another banishment for them. And more pink horror fire arcing across the beaten zone like tracer rounds from an M16, and it looks like we've got a duel coming in between the Golden Griffin of Theurgy and Volkmar the Greasy. Chaos Knights could get a full surround off here, could pin that War Altar in place, and then Tzeentch would have the armor piercing and mass required to take down the beast. And Volkmar has been a beast this game. There is no question about that whatsoever. He's been a monster, but does it matter? And the answer is probably not. Balance Bar is pretty far in favor of the Changer of Ways at this point, and it's pretty much going to be cleanup time. Finally, the grenade launchers have been noticed, and that is one of the downsides in these bigger 40 cap unit battles with more funds. You got more things to pay attention to, and if you leave something in reserve with the sole purpose of ambushing your opponent, well, sometimes you're going to forget about it if you are not completely on the ball. So I don't think it would have changed anything. It was certainly, those grenade launchers would have helped clear out these Chaos Warriors and the Pink Horrors, especially in a situation like this one where they're all blobbed up around Volkmar. But a single unit of that would not have changed the outcome of this battle, I do not believe. Would have made things a little bit closer, though. I think the big problem for the Empire is they really had no answer for the Golden Griffin of Theurgy, which kind of just had free reign in that battle to harry the back line, support with its bounce spells, and ultimately deliver that final blow to Volkmar the Grim. In a straight duel, Lord of Change would probably take a while to kill Volkmar, but I think he has a good chance to do so, because just like Volkmar can cycle charge Vilitch the Curseling into oblivion, so too could the Lord of Change. He also has the benefit of heals and a lot of armor piercing, 400 weapon strength, all that good stuff. yeah, the Golden Griffin, almost 4,000 damage value that game. Vilitch also did great with those Infernal Gateways and melee combat in the center. Chaos Knights performed awesome, and this is really where I think Demigryph Knights could have potentially been beneficial for the Empire. You support them with Volkmar and basically go around killing all the mobility for Tzeentch whenever they commit. Demigryphs could definitely go into Chaos Knights and perform very, very well, especially supported by some healing or anything like that. The Ward of Save from Volkmar, Grand Bastion of Faith, Grand Shield of Sigmar, all that. Those things could have been really beneficial for the Empire in this situation. I don't think the Missile Cavalry has enough punch in this situation to carry the day for the Imperial, so going more heavy hitter in the melee grind would have probably been really good, and the Knights Panther, while certainly a good unit versus demons, not quite as great versus the high armor Chaos Knights and elite armored troops of the mortal side of Tzeentch's roster.